to Detroit Lions Raw. I'm your host, Walt Stringer, Senior Draft Scout from the East West Football Network. And today we will be taking a look at your Detroit Lions and their prospects for 2021-2022. So, to keep the bad stuff short, ex-GM Bob Quinn, kicked out. Ex-head coach Matt Patricia, kicked out. First-time GM Brad Holmes brought in. First-time head coach Dan Campbell brought in. New regime, new attitude. Hopefully things change for the better. There's no proof yet, but we have a whole season ahead of us. They also brought in, which I think is a very, very, very good hire, in Anthony Lynn, former head coach of the Chargers for the past 4 years. Very instrumental in the success of Rookie of the Year Justin Herbert a year ago. They also brought in Aaron Glenn as defensive coordinator. For those of you who may not know who Aaron Glenn is, he was a very, very, very good, solid cover two corner in the NFL for a very long time. Spent the past handful of seasons with the Saints actually as their secondary coach. So he should also help out a lot. Now, I want to touch on this defense from 2020. We're looking at a defense that was either dead last or bottom 4 in the NFL in pretty much every single defensive statistic. What does that say to me? Well, that tells me you have a defense that is not very good at the line of scrimmage. So what do you do when you have a defense that isn't that very good at the line of scrimmage? You go out, you shake up some things on the defensive line, you draft some guys. They went ahead, they took Trey Flowers, they moved him actually from 3-4 DN to 3-4 outside linebacker now. Jury's still out of how that's going to help him. Will it free him up to get more sacks? We don't know. But if we continue to go down this depth chart, there's some interesting things defensively that I really like that they did over the past few months. I really like the fact that they went out and they got a true nose tackle in Aleem McNeil. Aleem McNeil went in the 3rd round. Pretty much, Aleem was regarded on a lot of draft boards as the #1 nose in the draft. But in this day and age, nose tackles really don't go that high. They're not valued as high as they used to be. So Aleem, who was pretty much, I thought, a bottom end of the 1st round talent, fell all the way to the 3rd round, right into the Lions' lap. Great for them. Levi Onwuzurike, the 2nd round pick, the first defensive tackle they actually took off the board. Levi, very, very disruptive. Only question I have about Levi Onwuzurike is he really a 3-4 DN? Or are they trying to squeeze him into a situation that isn't really for his best benefit? I think he's more size-wise, he's better fit for 4-3 D tackle than he is 3-4 DN. But he's still a bull in the china shop. He's still a disruption. And all you really want out of your 3-4 DNs is to really pretty much eat up double teams so those linebackers can make way and do what they need to do. So another move, being able to bring back Romeo Okwara, huge. And then for the money they were able to bring him back for was very, very huge. Rarely do you get a young pass rusher like that on the market and be able to get him cheap, pennies on the dollar, the way they were able to at his age. So I believe that was very huge for them also. Now, going to a very critical spot on this team still, the linebacker position. They brought in Alex Anzalone through free agency. Sean Dion Hamilton is actually hurt right now. Jelani Zavai is on the verge of being cut. Jamie Collins Sr. continues to stick around year after year, oddly enough. They signed Charles Harris, who's currently the 2nd outside linebacker, actually the weak side linebacker. And for those of you who may not know, Charles Harris was a busted 1st round pick from the Miami Dolphins a handful of years ago. He kicked around the can a little bit with the Falcons, came over here. Not too much really expected out of him. But Derek Barnes has been pretty much a bright spot in the preseason, 4th-round pick. He was the second of their 2 4th-round picks right after Amon-Ra St. Brown, the wide receiver out of USC. Barnes has shown a lot of leadership in preseason. He's shown the ability to find ball, get guys down, and he's a very sure sound tackler. And that's something that this team has really, really lacked for a long time. You can go back to maybe Stephen Tulloch and even further back to a guy like the deceased Reggie Brown, rest in peace. So linebacker is still a very, very critical position for this team. So we're going to move down to the secondary. Another big question. Amani Oruwariye, who was not drafted by this regime, was kind of on his last leg with the previous regime. This is pretty much a show me year for Amani. Big corner, long arms, fast, aggressive. Can he finally put everything together this season and make it work? Ifeatu Melifonwu, 3rd-round pick, could have been a late first, early 2nd-round pick. Prototypical size, 6'2", 210 pounds, long arms, physical, aggressive, great at the line of scrimmage. Big question I have about him is his recovery speed. He has a tendency to open that gate up a little too quickly when receivers get on top of him, and that tends to be a trait out of corners who don't trust their speed. Let's go on to Jeff Okudah. Now, 3rd overall pick wasn't Jeff's fault. Jeff had a very, very rough rookie season due to the fact that he had some nagging injuries going on. He played in a system that didn't really allow him to play confident, didn't allow him to find and cover, which is what he was good at. Jeff has a very telling season coming up. Jeff hasn't looked very good in the preseason so far in 2 games. And for the 3rd overall pick, they expect you to be Jalen Ramsey. They expect you to be Charles Woodson. They expect you to be Champ Bailey. Is it fair? No, it's not. But hey, at the end of the day, Jeff, hey, he's got a lot to live up to. So let's shift over to the offensive side of the ball, where there's a lot to be left to the imagination. So we're looking at a wide receiver core that's been completely revamped. There's no Marvin Jones. There's no Kenny Golladay. Those are the 2 main guys that are gone now. In are Tyrell Williams, journeyman, and also Breshad Perriman, journeyman. Behind those 2 guys, you're looking at rookie Amon-Ra St. Brown, Quintez Cephus, and also a undrafted rookie free agent in Javon McKinley, who has been a very, very bright spot in the preseason so far. Things get pretty rough after this. The offensive line, if Vaitai can get moved out of right guard and maybe move Logan Stenberg in, I would be a lot happier. I would be happier with Vaitai is actually gone. Penei Sewell, the 7th overall pick in the draft, is looking pretty solid after a rough first quarter. First preseason game against the Buffalo Bills, he looked a lot better in that 2nd game. He's looking pretty solid at right tackle. You look at center, Frank Ragnow, just signed a mega contract, highest paid center in football, deserve every penny of it. Jonah Jackson is starting to come into his own at left guard. And then, of course, Taylor Decker, 1st-round pick from a few years ago at left tackle, still going strong. We can take a look at tight end TJ Hockenson, who may be their best offensive weapon, period. He's going into his 3rd season, and there's a hell of a lot expected out of him. We can take a look at the running backs. DeAndre Swift going into his 2nd year. He's another guy, another young guy who fell kind of out of favor with that previous regime very quickly due to some tough growing pains early in the season for DeAndre. But we do expect big things from him this season. And also free agent signing Jamal Williams from Green Bay, I think is very, very huge. Jamal gives them a north and south guy, a guy who can stay between the tackles and get those extra yards. Very, very solid compliment to what DeAndre Swift is. So I think going to the most important position on the field, quarterback. And I'm going to start from third going to first. David Blau's been here for a minute, but this current regime has no ties to David Blau. Blau could easily be gone soon. They brought in Tim Boyle to really be the backup. They groomed him to be the backup. Tim Boyle has looked awful in preseason, has shown no ability to be a backup in the NFL. Where they go with Boyle, I have zero idea. And then, of course, Jared Goff. Goff is the guy who was kind of cast away by Sean McVay and the Rams. They kind of made him the scapegoat for all their shortcomings over the past couple seasons. So they pushed Goff over on to us, the Detroit Lions, for, of course, quarterback Matthew Stafford. Lions went out and in. They get 2 first-round picks over the next couple seasons, and also a third-round pick in this previous April's draft, which they turned into Ifeatu Melifonwu, the quarterback from Syracuse. So overall, my general feeling about this team is probably 5-11. I think they did enough draft-wise this season to build the base for what they want to be. They helped that defensive front seven out a whole lot. Didn't do much for the defensive back seven. Offensive line is solid. Running back stable, looks to be solid. Jared Goff remains to be seen. We have zero idea if Jared Goff is broken or not. Can it be fixed? We have no idea. But overall, like I said, I see a 5-11 team. I don't see any explosiveness on offense. I don't see a running game that's going to be good enough to really keep defenses from really sitting back. And that's the problem. There's going to be a lot of sitting back right now. When you look at that wide receiver class of receivers that they have, you got even going to guys who may not even make the team, Sage Surratt, Geronimo Allison. Like, things have gotten really, really ugly at the skill positions for this team. But, you know, it's a rebuild. And they're only a year in the making. Like I said, I love the draft so far. Time will only tell if these guys develop. But I love pretty much every pick they got within those first 4 rounds. So to wrap things up, I see a rough, very rough first season for Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. I see a culture being set. I see some hungry dogs on that defensive line. I see some big athletic corners who want to learn. And I see a quarterback position that's pretty much up in the air. So what do you think? You tell me. I'll be back very, very soon with more Detroit Lions content. Do me a huge favor. Please like, subscribe. I'm out.